One day I woke up in my girlfriend's parents' basement. I had trouble sleeping the night before, and I decided to bite the bullet and just wake up. Got up around 7:06 a.m., and there was no one up. So with nothing better to do, I decided to just play some video games. All I had was a Switch, so I just opened it up and went to the shop channel. I made some money yesterday on Robinhood, so I was like, well, fuck it. Let's just buy some random game and see how it goes. You know, what's the harm in that? What is the harm in that? What I found wasn't a game. It was a cursed possession. I present Schmoobity Boo. I'm being serious. That's what the game's called. And it might look kind of childish. Kind of like a little friendly, family fun game. But let me tell you, this is some shit the devil made. I promise you. This game's a simple platformer. Nothing too interesting. You're a small dude, and your goal is to get to the end of the level. I mean, nothing too crazy. You even have these little apples you can collect. The game almost seems fun. So obviously, let your guard down a little bit. Kind of go on autopilot. Let's play a casual game before everyone wakes up. A little bit of fun. Then you enter the third level. And something is just a little bit off. You see this guy, and he explains, if you run out of lives, you will enter purgatory. Try not to die. And that's when it sinks in. There is a limited amount of lives in this game. When you play a game with limited lives, it's always just a bit scary. That's because when this happens, obviously when you run out of lives, there's going to be some sort of punishment. But what that punishment can be can vary from game to game. I mean, there's punishments where you start the level over again. There's punishments where you start the whole game over again. There's a game where the punishment is you never can play the game ever again, and you're forced to live with your failure forever. So obviously, the scariest and the worst punishment is the unknown. Until you first die, it's really hard to know how to prepare for it. And so, that's what makes this fucking game so crazy, dude. I also quickly figured out how many lives I had, 34. And I also had like some math amount of apples, so that was good. Honestly, it wasn't even that hard at first. A couple weird jumps, nothing too crazy. And it even had good game design. Like when you got a new enemy, it would show you how to beat the enemy first, which is like a really cool way to like explain things without like forcing you into weird situations you've been in before. But then you enter the shop. That's when all the curtains fell. That's when you realize how fucked this game is, dude. Alright, Shop Basics 101. There's 4 items. Health, which keeps you alive. A shield, which prevents 1 damage, which is basically pointless. A duck, for some reason, that you could buy as a character. And a couple hats. What you realize is that this whole thing is basically pointless. The only thing you can actually buy is health. Everything else is just to waste your money. And there are no refunds, so it really is to waste your money. Because if you buy anything, you're basically buying it with health. You're buying it with blood. That hat is made of your own lives. So it's best to just buy lives. Which is when you realize just how important they are. This is the only way to get lives in the game for the most part. And you might say, you know, who really cares? This seems a bit dramatic. This game isn't that hard, right? Well, right after the shop, the game starts to really pick up. See, remember what I said before? It's obvious that Kratos make good levels. But it's not obvious that he really wants to. After the first shop, he starts using the mechanics for good levels inversely to make the game bad on purpose. You'll see some crazy things start leaking out of this game. Weird hitboxes. Weird clips. Weird fan physics that don't make any sense with weird paths. The slowest moving platforms ever. Like super slow. super slow. These mechanics started adding up. You basically start hemorrhaging lives, getting less and less and less, and I wasn't about to try to figure out what the fuck purgatory was. Plus, the game just started getting downright hard. There are multiple jumps needed to be lined up, usually with basically blind luck. And then I finally saw the first part of the real game. The skull door. This turned out to be where the boss is. And again, the bosses were downright crazy. You don't believe me? Alright, let me explain these bosses. First off, they start with a set amount of health. Each time you jump on one, it loses health. Seems pretty normal. But this cursed game decides to take it one step further. Each time you get hit by the boss, it gains 1 health back. But then it decides to go even further than that. Even if the boss is at full health, it will gain even more health. So as you're trying to solve how to beat this boss, it'll basically have double the health it ever had in the beginning. And as you're doing this, your lives get lower and lower and lower. As the next couple levels passed, I was basically at my last couple lives. And then suddenly, I entered what I feared the most. Purgatory. Purgatory is when you truly realize this game's genius. You truly realize just how fucked you truly are. What happens is, there is a wheel spun. It shows different number of lives and zeros. If you land on lives, you get those back, you get to try again. If you land on 0, a game over occurs. A game over puts you back at the last possible shop you visited. It also gives you the same amount of lives you used to have. That's when you realize how much lives matter. Each life you save during the game is kept forever. And every time you hit a new save points, it's saved forever. So every single death, you get mad at yourself. Every mistake is so annoying. This is what makes this game so fucking cursed, dude. I would have to live with these 80 lives and 50 apples until I erase my current game. You look back at all your mistakes, you have to cringe. Why did I fuck around so much at the beginning? But nevertheless, you carry on. And again, the levels just keep eating at your lives. You barely solve one, and your number just ticks lower and lower and lower. Sometimes the only point of the life was to kill an enemy. You have to spend your entire blood just to kill one guy. It was a brutal war. You might think to yourself, why don't you just restart, after you beat a level, like once you get good at a level. But it doesn't work that way. Every time you restart, all the enemies come back, but your lives do not. That means unless you want to kill yourself 170 times, you're going to just have to deal with your failures, straight up. This game wasn't perfect though. It had a couple too many bugs, and I was going to play easy. I decided it was time to fight back. If I was going to fight the devil, I should probably bring out my Bible and exercise this fucking game. The next video, I'll tell you about how crazy this game actually got, and how I figured out how to break it just enough to allow me to win.